We welcome you back to the Steam Room, which is presented by TISO, the official watch of the NBA. And man, Chuckster.
Hey, special guest.
Yeah.
Head coach of the National Champion Baylor Bears.
Yeah.
How does that sound, Coach?
Man, that sounds great. Hey, you can even say that again, man. That sounded really good.
Go ahead, Chuckster.
Head coach of the National Championship Baylor Bears, Coach Scott Drew is joining us as a special guest.
Appreciate you. And for those that don't know, I mean, Charles, you were a part of this now because we did talk to you during the tournament, and you did give our players some advice. And congrats to you, champ.
Well, listen, Coach. Scott, you know, I've been friends with you and your family for a long time, and you asked me to make a little video to you guys. Man, it was beautiful to watch. You know, Mark Vital, he texted me Saturday. He says, yo, man, I'm really struggling. And I said, yo, man, y'all won the game. That's all that matters. And I said, just go out there and wreak havoc. Find a way to help your team win, no matter what it is. And I told him after the game, I gave him a big hug after the game. I said, you set the tone. Yeah. Those 2 offensive rebounds, the first 2 plays of the game. After that, y'all physically intimidated them. I said, yo, man, you were so awesome today. But those 2 offensive rebounds to start the game, They realized, like, we cannot keep this man off the boards. And the rest is history.
Yeah, you definitely had him motivated and ready to go. But I'm going to tell you what we did. We set the table for the guys before we played your video message. You remember the old NBA Superstars highlight video? And it was on VHS back in the day. But when I first started coaching, that was like, I Am the Warrior was the song. And the young Charles Barkley's dunking on everybody, getting all the rebounds, shooting a free throw. Your eye was like, you look like Rocky. You had the puffed up eye, the black eye. You couldn't even see it. He's shooting a free throw one eye. But our guys were like, they were so impressed seeing all those highlights. And then your video came on and the place went nuts. And then obviously Mark loves you, looks up to you. But what makes you so special, Charles, is how you give love to the young people that play this game. You came on the court afterwards. And I tell you what, they'll remember that game for the rest of their life. But equally would be that memory with you on the court and them getting a chance to hug you and talk with you. So thank you so much for that.
Coach, it was cool. Mark came over and told me to come over, and I had to give him a big hug, man, because I'm so proud of that kid. And then you came over and said, hey, you got to go say hello to my dad and my brother. And let me just tell you something. I am sick and tired of your brother and your dad thinking they can beat me in golf. Listen, I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Hey, all I know is when you take a bunch of money off my brother and dad, send me a cut because I helped arrange that game, all right?
How has your life changed here over the last 10 days to 2 weeks?
Well, you know, every morning you wake up and you're exhausted because 24/7 you're trying to get back to everybody because it's important that you respond to everybody that sends you a message. But then also having great opportunities to be like on this show and hearing Charles Barkley say national champ. I mean, and then when you get tired or worn out, we say these are national championship problems. So that refreshes us and we know these are good problems to have. And the coffee machine's right close to the door. So we good. We just keep it going.
Feeling you've been into that this morning.
Oh, yeah. This is the 3rd one already.
Obviously, everything is over. You got to celebrate. But now, what's the situation with recruiting? Are you allowed to recruit now? Or it's just a dead period?
Well, the beauty of college basketball, you're recruiting 24/7 because everything's done on the phone, text messages, FaceTime, phone calls. And you see with the portal, first of all, you're not only recruiting your own guys, you're recruiting everybody else out there. And that's why a lot of coaches, when they leave and go to the NBA, they're like, I ain't going back because they don't want to deal with the recruiting 24/7. But at the same time, why I love coaching is you have an opportunity to have an impact with the guys during their 18 to 22 years. And that's such a formative lifespan and getting a chance to know people in recruiting. And like, I know, Charles, you love people. I love people too. Ernie, you're the best at bringing people together. But that's something I do love.
Hey, along those lines on the transfer portal, because a friend of mine who's a football coach, longtime football coach, he and I were just sitting around talking the other night about that. And I wondered if, and correct me if this is wrong, but are coaches now going to be spending as much time recruiting guys who are already on their team? I mean, it's almost like is it going to be like a continuous recruiting of the guys who have already committed, who have played there for a year, and you're trying to get them to stay because of the ease of this portal?
Well, actually, that's been the secret to a lot of teams' success over the last few years. The teams that haven't lost guys to transfers or bad decisions to turn pro. And what I mean by that is that every college coach, when their guys can get guaranteed money and can be in a position to be successful in the NBA, you want them to go to the NBA. When you don't want them to go to the NBA is when you know they're not going to be drafted where they think they're going to be drafted. Then they come out and then they're not guaranteed money. They're not drafted where they heard or an agent told them they'd be drafted. And now they can't come back to college. So they're upset. You're upset. So really the key in college basketball is you have to have great relationships with the guys on your team so they make wise decisions to transfer, to leave, and when to do all that stuff. So very similar to, I'm sure, how it was back in the day for the coaches that you played for, Chuck, because my brother said when he first got to the Houston Rockets, you were the guy that really helped him navigate through the NBA and how to handle things. And he said it was a great time with you because as long as he played golf with you and lost you, you loved him. So it was good.
You know, the one thing that I'm a firm believer is I'm an old school NBA guy. I think, man, Dr. J and Moses, Bobby Jones, Andrew Toney, Maurice Cheeks, man, those guys, Moses number one, he made me lose 50 pounds. But Dr. J.
Don't worry about it, Chuck. You got it back.
Yeah. But those guys, man, they took me under their wing. Even when I got traded to Phoenix, Houston, like I try to always help the young guys. Because I think, man, this thing ain't easy.
No.
First of all, the basketball is hard. But dealing with all the other stuff in life is hard also. Getting to be around your brother, I mean, I try to always help the young guys. Because, for you, like I always tell people, we spend all our time worrying about these young kids who's going to go pro and this and I said, well, first of all, 99% of these guys aren't going to go pro. So I think the number one job of a college coach is to make sure your kids get their education and try to make them better people. I mean, that's to me, we don't spend nearly enough time. We hear about they need to get their name and likeness. I hear all that stuff. And my biggest concern with this is we're really going to have the haves and the have-nots. Because to me, what's going to happen is kids are going to all start going to the bigger schools. They're going to say to themselves, well, I can't get a car deal at this school. I know if I go to this school, I can sell more product. What do you think about that, Coach?
Well, I think you bring up a lot of good points. And I think the first one I want to touch on is, at Baylor, it's called Preparing Champions for Life. So it's a spiritual, it's an academic, it's a character formation and athletic. And you know from the rookies that come in the NBA, if those first three are good, I mean, the last one's going to be fine. But if those first three aren't very good, it doesn't matter about the last one. It's hard to make it in life. And so having an opportunity to pour into young people for that. And that's why it's such a blessing when young people come into your program, if their inner circle allows you to be a mentor. And I always say it takes a village to raise a man. If we're all on the same page, because there's going to be peaks, but there's going to be a lot of valleys, and that's life. This generation tends to want things right now. And as you know, some things you probably like wine, and, sometimes you got to age that wine for it to be fine wine. Again, you got to go through trials and tribulations, and a quick dollar now might not mean you're able to make a good income the rest of your life. And so you got to base decisions and make decisions on wise things. Hopefully these young people are blessed to have 60 more years, and you want their future generations to be impacted by their success. And every dad wants their kids to have it better than they had it.
Scott, what's the best advice your dad ever gave you, coaching wise?
He gave me so much good advice, but obviously head coach is only as good as his players and staff. And if you don't have great players, and I'm not just talking athletically, we're talking about everything that puts the team first, that provides the culture you want, the buy-in to being a great teammate. And if you don't have a great staff that you can trust that are going to carry out the same message that you want carried out. And Chuck, I know from the teams you played on and the great ones, I mean, a player-led team is always better than a coach-led team. So if you get the right people on the bus, and what I mean by that is players and staff, now it's easy for a head coach to look awful good.
Scott, let me tell you something. Watching your team play in person is watching them totally different than watching them on tape. I mean, that was a mismatch in the national championship game. No disrespect to the Zags. They had a tremendous season. But your team, seeing them play in person that Saturday and Monday, y'all were by far and away the best team in the country. This is obviously hypothetical. Do you think if y'all didn't get bit with the COVID situation, you think y'all would have been undefeated?
Well, God's plan is always the best. And you could look at it two ways. One, you don't have COVID. Maybe you're undefeated. Maybe you go down now as one of the best teams to ever play college basketball. That would be one way. And I definitely like that. The other way is without the COVID, maybe our guys wouldn't have been as focused and excited to be back playing. There's a lot of people in that bubble were ready for their seasons to end. You know this from the NBA and college. Just like you and Ernie, after a long season together, you might need a break. Now, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
We need a break.
No, we do.
Yeah, we need a break.
We do. I could use one. I could use another one right now.
But, I mean, our guys in the bubble, we'd been away from each other for 3 weeks. Everyone's in their own places. We were excited to be back with each other and around each other. So, again, I think there's two ways you could look at it. Me being optimistic, I know I'm going to say God's plan is always the best, but you know what? Maybe we could have been undefeated because I up to that, no one had come close to us. What was it? 8 points, 9 points?
Yeah, me and Kenny said something about your team after watching y'all play that Monday night. I says, one thing about Baylor, they got a weight room down there.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, man, you got some grown men on your team. I mean, who's your strength and conditioning coach?
I'm glad you asked that because we love when you guys talked about Charlie Melton. He's been here for 14, 15 years. He's one of the best in the business. But we love that clip that you said because he's, as you know, if you don't have a good strength coach, it's hard to be a good coach. And at the end of the day, if a player's in top form and athletically at their peak, they're such a better player. Very similar to you put a backpack on you and add 5 or 10 pounds, you're not near the athlete. So a strength coach is so important to take that backpack off. Like right now, I wish he'd take about 20 pounds off my backpack, But thank you for that shout out because that is real and appreciate that. Charlie Melton is the best.
Can we go back to when you took the job there, Scott? How much did it weigh on you, the situation that Baylor was in when you took that job? So what was the back and forth going on in your mind about, yes, I should, or no, I shouldn't? I mean, because they're obvious, but I bet there were some folks out there who said, man, I wouldn't touch that job.
Well, first and foremost, I prayed about it and I felt led to come to Baylor. And my dad, when he went to Valpo, they had never had a winning record in Division I. At that time, Digger Phelps was at Notre Dame right down the street. And he said, do not go there. You can't win there. It's a dead end job. And I saw how my dad was able to build that and what he was able to accomplish. And there were a lot of similarities with Baylor. I really believed in the leadership, the vision for the place. I mean, it's the largest Baptist school in the nation. It's unbelievable academic reputation. And we're in the Big 12, which out of the 6 out of the last 7 years has been the toughest conference, very similar to the NBA West. The West has been so dominant for the last how many years in the NBA. So if you win your league, you can win a national championship. So the great thing about you guys, you're optimistic, you're positive, and you're on to, hey, how do I get better? Well, once we got here, I mean, we had a ton of work. So we hit the ground running. We haven't looked back since. We haven't thought about much. We've just been out grinding, trying to get better.
I sent you a text. I told you, man, what you did was miraculous. I mean, taking that job, number one, took tremendous courage. And because you had to believe in yourself. But I just want to tell you on the podcast, man, what you did was amazing. When you took that job, a lot of guys are like, man, that's a tough job. And now, and the thing about it, I think, number one of the reasons I'm proud of you, you built a program. Like, you could have lucked up and won a national championship in the beginning, and it would have been like, okay. But now the way you have built this program and been consistent, man, I just want to say what you've done is amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And I can tell you, when 2010, we lost to Duke in the Elite Eight, and they went on to win it all. In 2012, we lost to Kentucky, and they went on to win it all. It does make you appreciate getting the Final Four that much more, or winning it all that much more, because you know what a blessing it is. And people say this all the time. So all of a sudden, are you a great coach because you won one more game? No. I mean, you got to be blessed and lucky. There's so many people that haven't had that opportunity, but it doesn't mean they didn't have great careers or successful careers. And to me, that's why what you pour into young people defines how you're successful more than necessarily your record, because at the end of the day, when you pass away, how you impact young people means a lot more than what your record is. When we get to heaven, they're not going to say how many championships you won. God's going to ask you how you performed and who you impacted and had an opportunity to impact. And again, that's why I love you guys, because you impact so many people. You stand up for what's right, and you do it in a great way.
Hey, Scott, when you look at Chuck, do you think he has the makings of a halfway decent pickleball player?
Hey, Chuck's a natural athlete. Whatever he does, he's going to be great at. I'm just telling you.
Chuck, do you know what pickleball is?
I know what pickleball is, but Ernie, I got at least 2 years. I'm a firm believer. Somebody else asked me about pickleball. I said, I'm not old enough to play pickleball. I think you have to be at least 60. I think 60 is the magic number. I've never seen any young person play pickleball. I think 60 is the magical number.
But Scott, you have taken to this like this. It's a kind of a tennis takeoff, kind of like I don't even know the best way to describe it.
So Chuck, in the bubble, there weren't a lot of activities or things to do, and Coach Few did have a pickleball court in there, and we got to play something. So Coach Few and I were undefeated in the bubble. So we were a good team up into the championship game. At that point, we had to put the partnership aside. But I agree with you, Chuck. My dad plays pickleball, and a lot of people he played with are a lot older than he is. So he thinks he's a young gun out there. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because Mark Few's 58 and Scott, you are at 50?
50, yeah. But yeah, hey, what you do in the bubble, you got to make do what you got in the bubble, all right?
All right.
Hey, our players were great at Connect Four. By the time it ended, you didn't want any part of them in the Connect Four and the cornhole. All right, they were getting dubs.
It's going to be a serious question. Who's the worst coach in the Drew family?
Well, I tell you, the best player it's my sister, probably.
Oh, she's a hell of a player.
Oh yeah. She was all conference in the MAC 2 or 3 years. She fouled the most too. My brother and I still got all the scratches and scars to prove that. But anyway, hey, really, really blessed to have a great family, and you're part of that family. I mean, my brother, again, I can't thank you enough for you taking care of him his rookie year in the NBA. His favorite times were some of your stories. I remember when you were on one of the planes, and there was some smoke coming out, and everybody's panicking, and everyone's about to lose their mind. And calm, cool, and collected, Charles Barkley says, "I don't know about the rest of you, but me, Bryce, and Brent, we going to heaven."
I can believe that story.
Hey, you know what? There's ain't nothing like being around the guys. There's nothing like it. And to see Bryce's success, the first time I spent time around your dad, I mean, your dad, man, what a wonderful man. I mean, I said, man, I see why he's such a great coach, because he got so much passion for these kids. I mean, when he would come to Houston, like, he just want to talk about basketball, and you could just see he was like trying to learn. Dude been coaching forever, and he's still trying to learn basketball stuff. And he was like, let's just talk basketball. I'm like, I love talking about basketball. I don't know anything about anything else in the world but basketball. But just these kids are so lucky to have your dad when he was a coach, and you and your brother, because I know y'all care about these people. And I'm going to tell you something. We're being nice here on the podcast, but I'm going to just tell you something. When you come to Arizona to see Bryce and Homer's out there, I'm going to take y'all to a golf course and beat y'all like a dog.
He's been talking this game.
Ernie, I'm back,
Scott,
Ernie.
Like crazy. Well,
I'm back, Ernie.
You got to prove it, man. You haven't proven it to anybody. All it is just empty talk right
Ernie,
now.
Listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to put an end to this madness. Y'all are never going to beat me again.
But you're not going to have somebody like Phil Mickelson telling you what club to hit.
Oh, no, you're right. Because Phil would not let me turn my driver loose. That was the problem. Even though we beat the hell out of Steph and Peyton, I can hit my driver. He wouldn't let me hit my driver.
Oh, my gosh.
The reason he didn't want you hitting the driver is even though there were very few spectators there, you would have found one.
Hey, the only highlights better than his NBA highlights are his golfing highlights.
Yeah. God, I will tell you this. He has he has improved, and I've liked what I've seen from the Chuckster. But again, when it comes down to tournament play, like the Masters, which we have at Chateau Alon every year, there creeps in that little bit of self-doubt. And
no, there's no more self-doubt. There's no more self-doubt.
Hey, no pressure, no diamonds, as RG3 says, baby. Bring it home. Bring it home.
Hey, RG3, by the way, how close did you come to have an RG3 play hoop for you?
Oh, RG3, now he spent time in our gym. He was either in the football office or he was in our gym. He's a heck of an athlete. After he got out of high school, he leaves and comes in January. You know how you gray shirt? He ends up running track. And it was the 200 or 400. I think it was the 200. He wins the Big 12 200 hurdles. He goes to the Olympic tryouts. This is a high school senior. He goes to the Olympic tryouts as a high school senior. It almost makes the Olympic team. Our football coach didn't even know if he was going to have him that year because he didn't know if he was going to go to the Olympics. I mean, whatever RG3 did, he did well. But I love his statement, no pressure, no diamonds. So you good, Charles. All right, I know you handle that pressure well.
Thank you, coach.
Just take pictures of all them checks you're gonna be winning and send them to me so I know what you're getting done. All right.
Hey, just let me know when you come visit your brother in Arizona. You make sure you bring Homer too, because I want some of him too.
Yeah.
Hey, last thing from me, Scott. Take me back to the game's over, all the confetti has flown, and when did you talk to your dad and your brother? What was that like in the immediate aftermath of winning the championship?
Obviously, we've just been able to wave to everybody for 3 weeks, and we went straight from Kansas City. So 4 weeks and not seeing anyone. So just seeing your family, being able to hug them after the game. The NCAA arranged where we could meet with family afterwards. So that was awesome. And then obviously I learned at that point, if we golf, it's going to be earlier in the day because we're together and it's 3 or 4 Indy time, but they're wide awake because Phoenix time, they're 2 hours behind. So like my dad's still ready to go and I'm just exhausted. So we go play, we go do golf in the morning. It ain't gonna be late at night in the evening time. Seeing them was awesome. Spending time with them was awesome. And then the great thing about social media, like I said, is afterwards you can go back to your room and it's 5, 6 o'clock and you got all these text messages and you haven't heard from a lot of people in a long time and you're just gracious that they reached out or watched the game or prayed for you. You wanted to get back to them. And then you had the Today Show and those shows coming on and you're like, well, do I go to bed for 30 minutes? No, you got to stay up. And you know what, Charles, we can't stay up like we used to. Right?
No question we cannot.
Maybe you can still pull them all-nighters, all right? Yeah. I was by the time we got done with all that stuff and I laid it down, I was out.
So happy for you. Because like Charles, we've known you for years and years and years and known your family, and man, it just couldn't happen to a nicer man and to a greater family than yours to be able to celebrate. And I just hope you just enjoy every stinking second of this thing, Scott, and just milk it for all it's worth, man.
Well, I can tell you, it's all been a blessing. Spending time with you guys is always a blessing. Ernie, you know how our family feels about you, and I just love when you guys are on TV because you bless everybody that listens to you. So keep Shaq in line. Tell Kenny we said what's up. And then, Charles, I'll let my dad know you coming.
Yes.
All right, you coming.
And thank you for my piece of net, too.
Well, you deserve it.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Scott Drew, thank you very much, man. Great to see you. Thanks for being on the steam room. And hey, and thank you. I forgot before we started to give you the ground rules of being in the steam room. But obviously you must have been up to it because you did keep your towel on. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.